Welcome back to Mighty Ride Junkies with another episode for Universal Studios Hollywood. Sorry I've been away for so long. I've been having some major technical difficulties with my hardware. So we are calling this episode the Universal Studios Hollywood Replacement Edition. Why replacement? Well, as the park entered a new millennium, Universal struggled where exactly they wanted to put their new rides, since land was very limited due to the park actually being a working studio. So today's episode will show that every ride we are going to talk about replaced a previous ride. Starting with Revenge of the Mummy, which opened June 25th, 2004. In 2002, the success of 1999's The Mummy and 2001 The Mummy Returns, the park was looking to bank off the franchise some more by designing a roller coaster for the park. However, when everything was done and finalized, Hollywood struggled to find a spot for the new state-of-the-art enclosed coaster. After only a few weeks of holding up the project, it was decided to close E.T.'s Adventure and replace it with Revenge of the Mummy. Before we even get into the actual ride, I have to talk about the line queue. It's almost like a pre-maze before the ride itself. The designs are so detailed and even interactive with the guests waiting in line. Universal even went to extremes by putting actual hieroglyphs on the wall, meaning if you can translate hieroglyphs or have a guide handy, you can actually read them. The actual ride itself takes you through the passages towards Imhotep's tomb as you pass by the graveyard of his cursed followers. Once you arrive in what I like to call the riches room, you are proposed with the idea of having all the gold you could possibly want, and in return, you serve Imhotep forever. And because no one wants to serve anyone forever, you are blasted off from 0 to 45 miles per hour in less than 2 seconds and begin going through 1,906 feet of track and experiencing the highest drop at 39 feet. About 3/4 into the ride, the coaster slams into a tight corner where you find yourself under attack by scarab beetles, trying to eat your flesh. While this is happening, the coaster is motionless while the track quickly moves over to the right and then releases you on a new track backwards, giving you the illusion you're going back the way you came. However, you're on a completely new part of the track. You'll continue being shot backwards before the end of the ride, where the coaster is readjusted 180 degrees before you disembark. 2 minutes of solid enjoyment and bliss. And if you even want more enjoyment, the ride of the same name at Universal Studios Florida is completely different. Going back up to the upper part of the park, we have the Simpsons Ride, which opened their doors on May 19th, 2008, replacing the Back to the Future ride. While I was doing my research, what I found pretty interesting about this is that Back to the Future may have closed a lot sooner than it actually did. Universal had plans to replace it a while ago and had been talking to Fox about releasing the rights for The Simpsons for theme park attractions since 2001. Since Fox didn't have a theme park of their own, which ironically they're building one now, studio heads love the idea of bringing The Simpsons to life in a theme park setting. But the creators of The Simpsons were a different story. Two of The Simpsons creators and producers, James L. Brooks and Al Jean, felt that a ride or theme park attraction would damage the franchise as it would start to become redundant, while Matt Groening felt it was too late to make an attraction as he felt, at the time, The Simpsons only had a few seasons left in them. And of course we know how wrong he was. Still, Universal persisted, and during the making of the Simpsons movie, Universal finally obtained the rights to build a theme park attraction. This was on the condition that the creators were heavily involved, and heavily involved they were. Unlike Steven Spielberg, who simply sat and watched the creative team put together Back to the Future and approving or denying changes, Groening, Jean, and Brooks actually helped write the scripts, approve the animation, and produce the attraction, along with a long list of other individuals. In 2007, The Simpsons Ride was finally announced to take over the outdated but loved Back to the Future spot, When the ride opened to the public the following year, guests were taken into Krusty Land, which if you look at the map of Krusty Land, it's basically all the well-known attractions from famous theme parks all jumbled up into one, where you would find yourself a part one of the most long-running gags in the show, Sideshow Bob trying to kill someone. So be prepared for one epic hilarious journey that will last about 4.5 minutes. Honestly, I personally was not a fan when I heard the news of Simpsons taking over Back to the Future, but after riding it, I definitely love the upgrade. I had to ride this ride twice. The first time I experienced it because I was laughing so much from the dialogue, I really couldn't appreciate the amount of work this ride took. When you have a show like The Simpsons that has been in the air longer than the majority of you watching have been alive, that's some big expectations you'll have to deliver to fans. And I think you will feel they delivered and then some. There are so many Easter eggs in this ride, I'm still catching new ones every time I ride it. They even threw in a few Easter eggs from the previous attraction there. The ride works exactly like Back to the Future worked, with a giant screen shared by multiple carts. With the Simpsons Ride, Hollywood began slowly expanding the area around the ride until it became the Springfield we see today. But before Springfield was around and Doc Brown's Chicken still ruled, before the ride even opened, Universal opened a Quickie Mart just before the Halloween season in 2007. And now, I will brace myself for the haters. There, it introduced one of the best tasting and delicious novelty food items in any theme park, the Lard Lad's Giant Pink Donut. Better than that god-awful turkey leg, better than the common churro, and sorry Harry Potter fans, better than the butterbeers. Now, they have about 6 different kinds of donuts, with different ones changing throughout the season. But if you ever go, before buying any other kind of donut, buy the original pink one first. Okay, enough with my obese needs. Next, we have Transformers The Ride, which had its grand opening on May 24th, 2012. Universal loves to plan ahead and began designing Transformers The Ride in 2007, after the massive success of the first film. Michael Bay, the movie's director, immediately jumped on board, and 2 years of immense planning took place before the ride was anywhere near to begin construction. Bay wanted the ride to not only be action-packed, but to be extremely detailed when it involved the Transformers, their fights, and to experience something as if you were in the movie. While Singapore was first to open the Transformers ride, Hollywood was close behind. Transformers the Ride sits on a stage at the very end of the lower lot. Formerly home to the Backdraft Experience and the special effects show, Universal scrapped Backdraft completely while trying to find a new location for the special effects show, which eventually settled in the upper lot. In Transformers, you are loaded into an Autobot known as Evok as you come into possession of the Allspark and end up fighting against the Decepticon. The ride is a motion simulator that moves on a track from room to room to view a story play out on 14 3D projection screens. This ride is epically fun, and I highly suggest you try it out, and with an almost 5-minute ride time, it's definitely worth the wait. Now, I will admit something that will probably get me a lot of hate from the Transformer keyboard warriors, but I never was a fan of the Transformer franchise. Never watched the cartoons growing up, really didn't care when they announced the film, and I actually put off riding the ride for some time. I didn't want to wait 60 plus minutes for something I wasn't sure I'd even enjoy. However, one visit to the park, I was surprised with the 5-minute wait time and finally decided to check this out. And man, did it have an effect on me. I immediately went out and bought the trilogy, there were only 3 at the time, and binged watched them. The point I'm trying to make, if you're a Transformers fan or not, you should still try this attraction out. Who knows, maybe, like me, you'll become a fan afterwards. Moving on to April 12, 2014, which saw the grand opening of Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. This is a motion simulator ride that is almost like Back to the Future and The Simpsons, except you're completely aware you're sharing a screen with 50 other people. Now, I don't want to spoil the story of the ride, but it is enjoyable. However, your re-ride value is going to completely depend if you're a Minion fan or not. The ride also has one of the more lengthy ride times for a motion simulator, clocking in at about 8 minutes. The location used to house the Terminator 2 3D Battle Across Time show, which I'm being completely biased here, being a Terminator fan, and saying that it will be missed. Honestly, I can't remember too much about the show. If it was corny or if it was starting to look outdated, I don't remember. Basically, you had actors on the stage were portraying the Terminator, Sarah and John Connor, but when they go behind the screen, you'd see Arnold Schwarzenegger, Edward Furlong, Linda Hamilton, and Robert Patrick portraying their characters. But I guess Universal had been planning to close this attraction for a while since the release of Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines in 2003. They just weren't sure what they were going to put in that place. This does make me wonder if Despicable Me hadn't been so widely successful, if T2 3D still would be operating, or if it would have been closed down for a completely new attraction. Along with Minion Mayhem, the mini water park area next to the attraction was redone into Super Silly Funland, which also included some boardwalk games and an aerotop jet ride called Silly Swirly, which opened on the same day. This ride just spins you around in a circle as you can get to control how high or low it goes, provided what the ride actually allows you to do. Now, if they could just get that roller coaster. And that wraps up this episode of Universal Studios Hollywood. I will be back soon, provided my equipment doesn't crap out on me, to take a look at a certain school of witchcraft and wizardry. So if you want to see that video, enjoyed this video, or you're just waiting for something new, please subscribe. Until then, everyone, take care and be safe.